David Spence was executed in connection with the rape and torture murders of two 70-year-old girls and the murder of an 18-year-old boy in Waco. He received the death sentence in the two trials for the murders. The prosecution built its case against Mr. Spence around bite marks. The state experts said that bite marks on the body of one of the girls match Mr. Spence's teeth and jailhouse snitches, both of which can be highly unreliable forms of evidence. However, Mr. Spence was already in prison, serving a 19-year sentence for aggravated sexual abuse of an 18-year-old man when he was indicted for the Waco killings. To sum it up, the prosecution took advantage of the bad history that Mr. Spence had. The evidence basically consisted of testimony provided by the other inmates, who claimed that the defendants had admitted to their involvement in the killings in private discussions. However, the inmates later said that they had been given cigarettes, television privileges, and alcohol, and more visiting hours by family members and friends in exchange for their accusation against Mr. Spence. Bite marks on the victims were also present as evidence of Spence's involvement. When the investigators were analyzing the bodies, they found bite marks on their body. So they took Mr. Spence's biting scales on a piece of artificial clay from his teeth, and one of the experts confirmed the matching of the teeth. Mr. Spence, post-conviction lawyer from the now-closed Texas Resource Center, organized a blind panel study in which 5 experts said the bite marks could not be matched to Mr. Spence's teeth. My analysis for this case that the use of DNA analysis in forensic studies would have proved the innocence of Mr. Spence. For example, doing the RFLP analysis. It was the basis for early methods of genetic fingerprinting, useful in the identification of samples retrieved from crime scenes and the determination of genetic materials for both the victim and the suspect. Solution of sufficient DNA for RFLP analysis is the time-consuming and labor-intensive. However, PCR can be used to amplify a very small amount of DNA, usually in 2 to 3 hours, to the levels required for RFLP analysis. Therefore, more samples can be analyzed in a shorter time. An alternative name for the technique is the use of PCR method help to amplify the DNA from very small samples from the remain of saliva in the bite location or the remain of the semen after the raping. Finally, the use of DNA analysis to improve the axonary conviction rule to limit the conviction of the innocent Mr. Spence. Mr. Spence's last words before the execution were to the victim's family, in which he said, First of all, I want you to understand I speak the truth when I say I didn't kill anyone. Honestly, I have not killed anyone. I wish you could get the rage from your hearts and you could see the truth and get rid of the hatred."